Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the specific implications of Boris Johnson's illegal Northern Ireland Protocol bill for the dairy industry in Northern Ireland, which cannot cope if this bill were ever to be passed and especially used. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So when it comes to Brexit, Northern Ireland was cited for a long time as being particularly vulnerable. This was largely based on the notion that the Good Friday Agreement was built on the foundations of the UK and Ireland's joint membership of the EU. With the UK leaving the EU, there were fixes that could be applied, but there was the most enormous risk. With Boris Johnson as Prime Minister and the ERG making him dance to their tune, those worst fears are realised, perhaps more besides. One of the main problems is that Boris Johnson can use Northern Ireland to keep bashing Brussels in a way that his target voters, none of whom live in Northern Ireland, will not understand. Northern Ireland's complicated enough at the best of times, and so voters in England, whether in the red or the blue wall target seats for the next election, really don't get the issues. What's more, they don't see it as affecting them, so they don't really care either. It's not a malicious apathy, it's just not their concern. So Boris Johnson keeps using Northern Ireland to beat up the EU in his interminable culture wars of division. He claims that the implementation of the protocol is causing massive trade problems. No, it's not. It's causing some trade problems for British exporters to Northern Ireland, but in reality it's not the protocol that does that, it's Brexit that does that. That being said, the problems are nothing like the problems that those same companies face when they want to export to, say, the Netherlands or France or Belgium. For Northern Irish businesses, there may be issues if your supplier is in Britain, but you've got no problem with exporting. Doesn't matter where you're exporting either. And if supply is an issue, you've got access to the full single market still. This is why Northern Ireland is enjoying more growth than Britain. Brexit has, in economic terms, been an absolute boon. Politically, of course, it is a mess, and that mess is set to get worse. How could it not? The bill that Boris Johnson is proposing will please just two parties who have any presence in Stormont, the DUP and the TUV. Together they represent less than a third of all the MLAs in the Assembly. The in excess of the other two-thirds want the protocol to remain. So Johnson is acting against the wishes of the clear majority of political leaders in Northern Ireland. It's against the wishes of the majority of people in Northern Ireland, the vast majority of businesses in Northern Ireland. It's souring our international relationships because other governments can see we cannot be trusted. On the international scene, Boris Johnson is left to have regular photo shoots with Ukraine's Zelensky, patting him on the back in Kiev and promising full support, then going back to London to party with Putin's stooges and taking their money for jobs well done. But despite the inevitable political mess that any hard Brexit was always going to bring to Northern Ireland, with politics that has been polarised longer than even in Britain, the government made a choice to screw up the economic and the social as well. And one really good example of how they're doing this that pops up all the time is with the dairy industry. Seriously, whenever I see anyone highlighting not just general but specific cases of how this bill, this insane plan to unilaterally scrap the protocol will cause serious harm, dairy is the most commonly used. The issue is now making its way slowly into the mainstream British media now that the bill may become reality. There are a significant number of dairy cows in Northern Ireland, over 300,000. That's basically one dairy cow for every 6 people in Northern Ireland. And some of these issues will also apply to cattle in general. There's nearly as many cows as people in Northern Ireland if you count up all the cows. It's big business. But the dairy industry, the milk harvested isn't generally processed in Northern Ireland. It's largely sent to facilities in the Republic of Ireland. We've had full freedom of movement throughout the island of Ireland for some time now. There's been no need to have different parts of a production chain in one territory or the other. You just, wherever it makes most economic sense. This is the beauty of the single market and the Good Friday Agreement. So milk's produced in Northern Ireland. Most of it's sent to the Republic of Ireland for processing. Then much of it comes back for sale or use in Northern Ireland again. But Johnson's plans will completely wreck this industry. So how does the protocol impact this? Well, if those cows are fed grain imported from Britain, which generally they are, then the milk produced by these cows will not necessarily be accepted in the Republic of Ireland, because right now the UK standards have generally been maintained. But that's because the government haven't got round to dropping them yet. They have plans for massive deregulation. They're constantly being pushed for massive deregulation. And the commonly cited issue in this case is, so let's say we suddenly allow the use of a pesticide for the production of that grain, which is banned in the EU. We lower our standards, we say, well, we can use that pesticide. All of a sudden, the cows fed on that grain, their milk will not be accepted for processing in the Republic of Ireland or anywhere within the single market. And Northern Ireland doesn't have the facilities for all the milk to be processed more locally, so at a stroke, you would decimate the Northern Irish dairy industry overnight. This would not only be terrible for business, but mean a shortage of milk availability as well, which would include all dairy products. There are commonly cited examples of products produced in Ireland which use a combination of milk from both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. Why wouldn't you? It's the same standard. And with this change, any products for sale in the single market would not be allowed to use the milk produced in Northern Ireland. An article in the Financial Times on this provided another useful insight. So they interviewed a dairy farmer from the Republic of Ireland but had a stake in a business that was cross-border, and pointed out that the threats over the protocol were already hitting their business, because they said international buyers want a reliable supply for the next 5 to 10 years. They don't want to mess about. Can you reliably supply us for the next 5 to 10 years? The thing is, if there's a threat to those supplies, you can lose those buyers. Even if it turns out you would have been a reliable supplier, if the buyer isn't sure, and this political uncertainty means they won't be sure, you lose business. You know, not that I'd expect the Tories behind this move to care about that. If it hurts businesses in the Republic of Ireland, all to the good. If it hurts businesses in Northern Ireland, even better. Because right now, Northern Ireland's embarrassing the Brexiteers. Northern Ireland's economy has been growing faster than anywhere else in the UK. And it's been going on ever since Britain, but not Northern Ireland, erected a hard trade border with the EU. But it will also hurt British businesses. You know, consider the problems are twofold. The predicted problems if the protocol is dissolved, and the problems caused right now just due to the market uncertainty. Bear in mind that the predicted future problems occur when we change the rules. So those rule changes will mean a dramatic reduction in dairy production in Northern Ireland. How could it be otherwise when there aren't the processing facilities? And for those who think, well, just build some, well, let's just build enough processing facilities. You might need to look at the parallel example. When we first left the single market, big news was the sale of live bivalve molluscs. There are 3 categories of these according to the quality of the water they're harvested from. Class A is really good quality water, yet fine. We can sell those to the EU still. Absolutely no problem. Class C is completely unfit for human consumption. Chuck it in the bin. But Class B means they need purifying first. You shouldn't really eat them like that. They need purifying. But then they're fine for sale in the EU. The problem is that just as Northern Ireland doesn't have enough milk processing, Britain doesn't have enough purifying facilities for our molluscs. We used to send them to other EU countries to do that, but we can't do it because they're Class B at the point we're trying to export them, not allowed. They have to be purified first. And the thing is, a lot of our catch is Class B because our waters are of crap quality, like literally. So we couldn't sell the catch anymore. Did we build the purifying facilities? No, because if it wasn't commercially viable to do it before Brexit, it wasn't afterwards either. So that catch is just not sold anymore. Or it's harvested but then landed directly in the EU, like Denmark or somewhere, to get access to the EU. So it's not landed in Britain, which means we don't get anything out of it. No taxes paid or anything like that. Sold in the EU. The same will be true of dairy production in Northern Ireland. The reason the single market is so effective is that no country can have all the production facilities it needs to be completely self-sufficient on any sort of sound economic basis. So you have to import some things. This is why an almost continental-wide free trade area in the form of the single market gives Europe such an edge around the world. We left it. And the lunatics who conned us into voting for it are now trying to rip out the people of Northern Ireland who were not conned into voting for it in large enough numbers. And when those dairy farms collapse, the British producers of the grain that starts the whole problem off, they'll lose business as well, because there's no need for the feed if you don't have the cows anymore. And the uncertainty will also hurt British businesses, even if ultimately it doesn't come to that. Because the threat of this protocol means that what would you do if you're a producer in Northern Ireland right now? You are going to be encouraged to shift more of your supply chains inside the single market. Try and show that you've got no reliance on British suppliers. Right now, they've got access to both the EU single market and the British market for goods. Imagine a future where they had to choose, because that's what's happening. Boris Johnson is telling them to choose. Which one would you choose? You choose the massive continental market, where not only you've got lots of suppliers, but lots of buyers. You're not going to choose the smaller one, which has raging inflation, not enough workers and a pissed up clown running things. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.